There we go.
Hello, gentles and ladymen. I am Bison Gaming. I am joined by my good friend Platypus Slayer with a new microphone. How's it going?
Hey man, it's going pretty good. Very kind of interested in this. I've not paid too much attention to team games in a while, so
This is
I
a
know
3v3, which is not usually my forte either.
correct, right?
Yeah.
But I know all these names, including yours, of course, on the one team, and these are all kind of like mad scientist players. So I know you're about to probably just like nuke my brain right before I go to bed.
This is a new strategy that I developed. It's nothing crazy, but it is very funny. I love this strategy because I think it perfectly represents and encapsulates United States in that, what does United States do? They have a strong economy, and then they go to a foreign land called Coraland, where people are fighting, and then they insert themselves into the combat with a ton of loud bluster and booming and something you can't ignore, and then they do pretty much nothing. And then they still call it a victory at the end of the day. And that is what we are here to do today, where I do nothing and yet am the most important player on the board, seemingly, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. So, all right, already off the bat, Dutch has a trading post, which is interesting. One of the Dutch, I should say.
Yeah, let's walk through the players a little bit. I just picked my deck, but we can talk about that a little bit later. Kinda Cat is over here playing Japan. I don't really remember what Kinda Cat was doing, but Kinda Cat just kind of does whatever they want, and they get away with it because they're good enough, you know? Kinda Cat plays every Civ like it's USA.
Yeah, no, they if there's natives, usually yeah, like they're definitely like a map and switch it up type of player.
Yes.
And then Prez, he's played this game a very long time, and he's got like really deep knowledge of like various builds that I would often say maybe aren't meta, but are still like old tactics that people have often forgotten about.
Yes, he is very good at the foundations of the game, and uses that to pretty much do, you know, a solid strategy with whatever Civ he feels like.
Mhm.
Now for our opponents, we have Brandon Adams on Dutch. Um, I guess he's doing Dutch things. I don't really remember this player that much, but I remember, he most of my time was fighting green, is what I will say.
Okay.
uh, and we have two Dutch players on the enemy team, and then a United States player that serves as my primary target throughout the game. This United States player is going for a very fast fortress-oriented deck, and combined with two Dutch players, and we can just kind of expect a lot of fortress play in this game. Is kind of the expectation everybody has going in here. We have a lot of standard cards that you see with USA, things like Springfield Armory. His first card was actually Chinese immigrants, so he's planning on taking a fair amount of trading posts. But we see pretty much standard everything here. We have the 54th Massachusetts Volunteers, the Russian American Company, the Rolling Artillery, all of your standard cards. No Marine cards in here. He's just playing it very, very standard. Standard economic H3 USA play is what we're up against. All
Makes
right,
sense.
now let's finally talk about my deck.
Oh boy.
This is my deck.
Quaking boots.
This it has
Quaker?
as you can see, it has in H4 two heavy cannons, 3 horse artillery, 4 culverins, and 5 captured rockets, as well as the coffee mill guns and the Nox artillery train, as well as all of the Minutemen cards, basic unit upgrades. We are running Buffalo Soldiers to upgrade our carbines instead of Georgia Hussars. And this is on top of the fact that we get, 4 extra shipments by the time we hit H4, so we have, in total, 12 H4 shipments in this deck. It is a fast industrial, and it is not trying to hide that.
Right.
It is trying to be very, very obvious as to what I am going for, as a matter of fact. That's by design.
Right. That's definitely an H4 agenda.
Uh,
Even with the flexibility of USA.
but one thing that is not included in this deck that I will make note of is the Team 5 Quaker Guns. Infinite Send, which is a card that I famously love, and in a deck called Quaking Boots, one might expect that card to be present, but it
Yes.
is not here, and we will get to that later.
Right.
But I'm specifically not including it in the deck because in case just to point it out, yes, we are going Quaker guns in this game. However, I'm trying to make the deck look as much as possible like it doesn't have Quaker guns, because here's the thing: is that everybody who checks decks will check it in the early game in Age 1 usually. Right? Some exceptions can be made with USA because people know that they get more cards later, but generally people will not bother going with that. But in order to afford a bunch of artillery like we are planning on going for, we need a strong economy, so we are doing a fast industrial economically without coin shipments. We are sending our bank, we sent French immigrants, we are sending Dutch immigrants, we are sending our Philadelphia Convention for the coin trickle, and we are getting up there manually. Without breaking our Minutemen. And the reason that I'm doing all this is so that I can get the Quaker gun card in Age 4 that allows me to train them and get that card added to my deck way later than people will generally check a deck.
Nice, a little bit of what's it called? Schadenfreude?
A little bit of what?
I think it's called Schaden. I don't know. There's probably some German or smarter people in the comments maybe that can help it out. But it's called it's basically trying to psych out your opponent. Subterfuge, for lack of a pronounceable word.
The card itself is called Marion's Diversions, and it ships 2 Quaker guns, increases all artillery speed by 5%, and enables Quaker guns to be trained for 100 wood at your artillery foundry. That 5% artillery speed is actually pretty cool, by the way, because when you combine it with the artillery speed tech in that is in the advanced arsenal, which you also send here, you can end up getting like 7.26 speed on horse artillery, which is really funny.
Oh, wow, that's deadly.
Yeah. We have our state capital going up here. Kinda Cat has a barracks kind of built into the middle of the map. We have a little bit of a Fulani and Raider rush going on with Red up in the top. Prez is his job is going to basically be the aggro for the early game and attract as much attention and wrath of the Dutch players as humanly possible for a while. And he's a major part of why I'm able to get away with a slow economic fast industrial in a 3v3.
Right, basically trying to keep Dutch busy, huh? So that way Dutch doesn't boom, because that's always the danger in these team games, is if you're fighting Dutch players.
I always find this strategy is funny. This is not the first time I've used this. I've used it in a variety of 2v2s at this point. We're already aging to 3. We're aging to 3 with... We went to age 2 with Pennsylvania, and we're going to 3 with New Hampshire for the factory, which may seem odd to get an age 3 factory in a fast industrial, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
That is kind of...
we grabbed our fast age up with the state capital. But one of the interesting things about this strategy is even when the strategy works as intended, which it does quite a bit, I'd say more often than not, it's difficult to actually get footage for it. Because when it does what it's supposed to, the enemies resign when they see a gigantic mass of artillery that isn't real, and then I have no footage.
It's like the meme, right? Suffering from success.
Yeah, so it took me a while to encounter a game that lasted long enough that I can show off the Quaker guns. So as a matter of fact, what you're going to see in this strategy is a great example of the strategy working, but not a great example of the strategy working at max capacity. And that's because if it did work at max capacity, the game would be a lot shorter. There would not be much combat at all. And I think that's one of the advantages in 3v3 is people are less likely to give up super early, just because they have allies that they can rely on for this. It was always the 2v. This was the first 3v3 I had done the strategy, and the rest of them were 2v2s. Okay, but we're in Age 3. In Age 3, during transition, we set most of our settlers to food and wood in order to combine 250 and 250 for the factory. Now, I famously have been very against the factory in Age 3, since they added a cost to it, as I find that it's just too slow generally. And on top of that, we are doing a fast industrial where I will very soon have 2 factories in my deck for free. So why am I sending the factory as my first card, followed by the Gatling guns? And it's just a timing thing, is all it is. My first card in Age 4 is going to be Marion's Diversions, which means that it will be a minimum of 80 seconds before I get a factory to arrive in Age 4, and I want my factories to be producing heavy cannons as early as possible. So I'm sending a factory early so that as soon as Age 4 hits, I'm able to start heavy cannon production.
Okay. So basically you're saying, yeah, it's not the best use of a card always, but in this specific case, it gets the literal cannonballs rolling, basically.
Yes. I also, because we're going economically and not depending on 1,000 coin, we have a very strong pool of unspent resources in Age 3 right now. So if I am put under attack, I'm comfortably able to just stop my strategy and build some units. You know, as we can see, we have a pretty good solid force of 5 regulars, 18 Minutemen, 3 Gats, and I also trained 5 Carbine Cavalry, which is I just include as part of the build order, really. But once I have enough housing, the factory is set to wood right now, so it can take care of the housing for us, and we focus almost all of our economy on food. I'm grabbing the hunting dogs tech from the markets. And we're just going to get up to Age 3 as soon as we can. Get up to Age 4 as soon as we can with South Carolina. In comes the Advanced Arsenal card right now. This will give us artillery speed and other such upgrades. You can sub this out for a military shipment if you want, or if you're under pressure. I just am a sucker for upgrades, so...
Right, and so far you guys are doing most of the offense, so, you know...
Yeah.
Might as well.
We have a green force built up of musketeers, regulars, and state militia coming up the center here, but they're no match for the big troop of units that is here. Any push that's over here has pretty much failed, but it's done its job in terms of slowing the economies of everybody down. We have our South Carolina queued up. And one of the beautiful things about Marion's Diversions is one would think, ooh, that's bad. One would think to themselves as they're, ooh, oh my god.
Poor Green. If he ever gets to watch this, he's probably gonna be like, that's where my vills went.
Oh no! Oh no! He's got 5. There's 5.
6, 7 about to be.
7.
I mean, look at that. Yellow is coming to defend him. Like, does this guy not realize he's got a town center? Oh, buddy.
Oh, that was painful to look at. Oh my goodness.
Oh, poor guy, man. It happens.
Do you remember what I was saying before we got distracted?
South Carolina. You were just talking about. You just clicked South Carolina.
Oh, right. One of the. Oh my god. Green. Pay attention to your settlers. Oh my goodness. Okay. One of the cool things about South Carolina is that, you know, when you send Marion's Diversions, it enables them to be trained, which is cool and all, but it's really rough when they cost 100 wood. You would think that's a lot of investment. That's as much wood as an actual cannon minus the coin. And, you know,
right.
I also, if I'm making real cannons as well, then I need room for population and stuff like that. Well, oh my god. Okay, green.
Can we see the green Vil count real fast?
Yeah, green he's on 14. He's straight. Okay.
He's got resources though.
But the cool thing is that the actual shipment of Carolina itself is 600 wood. And you need 800 in order to cap out the 10 Quakers, because they do have a build limit of 10. So it kind of helps in that regard because you know, it does most of the work for you. You can almost consider South Carolina and Marion's Diversions together to be an 8 Quaker gun card, essentially.
I see what you mean. So basically, you don't have to worry about going out on the map, exposing Vils, Vil seconds, anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just need to chop a few trees in order to cap them out at 10, which is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marion's Diversions is coming in here. Look at this card.
Now, do they cost pop or they don't, right?
They cost 1 population.
Okay.
But currently, we've been training a couple Gatling guns ourselves. We got a batch of 3, so we have 6 combined with our rolling artillery earlier. Our artillery foundry is right here. There's the heavy Gatling gun card, and boom, bingo, 8 Quaker guns queued up. Easy as that. And then a pop of actual ones behind them, and they train really fast too. Look how fast these guys train.
That is actually, and that's not Nox artillery or anything affecting them. That's just base.
Yep, that's base.
Wow, that's actually really good for a psych out.
Yeah. Now they're not very fast. They don't have any limber or unlimber animations, so they're stuck in an unlimbered representation. But now I have 10 Quakers and 6 Gatlings, but it looks like I have 16 Gatling guns to this hot air balloon that's hovering over.
Oh, probably like, oh god.
And in comes our second factory behind this, while we have heavy cannon production going on and the upgrade for that. And so I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's push now. I have a couple real cannons. Here, I'm about to have 10 and 10. I'm about to have a 50-50 ratio of real and fake cannons. But you know, despite the fact that Quakers don't do anything, I still think they're worth it. The wooden population is worth it, because in addition to freaking your opponents out, this is the point where I usually win games right here, as people will see this and resign. But one of the things that's so cool about this is, you know, every 100 wood that you spend for a Quaker makes your real Gatlings that you spend more resources for and actually do stuff much less likely to be targeted.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like you said, the psychological factor. Mm-hmm. You know, of seeing that many, you're usually just like, I'm out.
Yeah, this is something that, you know. And it's not like I don't have an insignificant amount of real Gatling guns, too. So it still looks real.
Now, I know with other guns, like with the Falk, you can tell the difference. With the Gatling, can you tell the difference in HP?
Yes.
Right?
You can.
Okay. Still, though, it's a pain to click them all.
Yeah, and it's a pain to check them when you're under this much pressure as well. So at this point, I've lost 4 Quakers and 0 of my real Gatling guns. That is why they are worth it. That is why Quakers are worth it.
I mean, there's the wood investment plus some
and
back
I just made
already.
4 already again. Yeah, exactly. And look, he's made a bunch of culverins. These culverins are going to struggle to do a lot anyways, just because he doesn't know which ones are real.
Right, you're going to have to just micro A, super hard, and B, super quick.
Okay, he did take out 2 of my real Gatling guns in one volley, but that's one of the culverins already down. We're down to 3 Quakers and 7 heavy artillery. There's 3 more culverins left. These culverins are doing a good chunk, but it's okay because I'm starting to get heavy cannons here, real ones, and we have more Quakers. These ones are also Quakers. I'm gonna start building real artillery again soon. I think I always try to keep the Quakers maxed out as my top priority. But yeah, even in all this, I still have a good chunk of my artillery here. A good chunk of my real artillery is still present, and it looks like I have way more than I actually have here. I have 3 Gats and a heavy cannon, and yet I have a gigantic mass of artillery that cannot be ignored. And that's the beauty of this strategy. These 2 culverins are also Quaker guns. Because you can set them to look like whatever you want. Including heavy cannons.
That's what's so good. Like, I would imagine the best use would be like in a Cove War, right? Where like every second counts. If you can get 1 Cove to misfire.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
And then,
in fact, that's one of my favorite things is when people start bringing in culverins. I set my Quaker guns to look like culverins because they're always the ones that get targeted first. And it also just prevents your opponent from making actual artillery to help deal with that could help deal with you.
Ready to fire.
Yeah, that's a really good use.
There's a little bit of a break in the combat here. He did get a ton of use out of his 4 culverins, I will say that. Those culverins did a fantastic job because I was not microing super well. But you try to double-click the culverins and it just selects all the Quaker guns. They're not real. But who cares, you know? They don't need to be real.
They just need to be real enough, right?
And we have 5 actual flaming arrows here, so that'll serve for the anti-artillery a good bit as well. Oh, goodbye, state capital. The nice thing is it's actually kind of believable because Gatling guns actually just don't do very much damage to buildings, so it's kind of realistic that they can take that long to fire at them. Oh, he's firing at a Quaker gun. Yeah, those are Quaker. It's a Quaker you just killed.
Yeah, it's so hard. I've fought against these things from
Yellow,
Baja.
Yellow is out at this point. So yeah, yellow ended up being the majority of the military I faced, just because green got completely crippled in economy. But yeah, that's a strategy. It's nice because it makes for short games, even though you fast industrial. It's quite entertaining. Yeah, it was only a 20-minute 3v3. Can you believe it was that short?
Yeah, that is nice. 3v3s are kind of famous for their ability to be over in like 8 minutes or 80 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
if both teams kind of hunker down, like it takes a long time often. That's quick. You know, I really like, I said, the use of Quaker guns. It's definitely, I think, one of those units that most players, because it's not going to give you like an easy result, right? Wouldn't really bother with. But you know, even looking at that game, like how much the Colv efficiency was reduced from the opponent, how much value got in even the Colv wars, right? Because they weren't sure which is which. I've seen other players do stuff too. Where you turn them all into heavy cannons, and if you're like Inca or Native Civ, you're just like, okay, GG.
I had a game once where I had 5 Quaker guns and 2 heavy cannons, and I made it look like a massive 7 heavy cannons paired with the army of real regulars. And when the opponent saw this after I had deleted his first base and he tried to make a second one, he made a really, really big army of Delhi. And he ran into my cannons, killed the 2 real ones and all 5 fake ones, and sacrificed his whole army for it because I had a bunch of anti-cav and lost that game due to it. Quaker guns are game-winning units. They really, really are.
You know, and at the very least, like, even if you're at like a high level, right, where people have like the APM to click, that's still APM that they're sacrificing. Like for 100 wood, you know, there's so much utility for that. If they don't pay attention, or just to make them second guess, especially like in treaty modes or late game when you have those culverin wars, like that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, man, that would just be a nightmare to have to click on a culverin when like literally a split second makes the difference.
Well, a culverin is an interesting case because I think they start with 200 base HP, right? That's the same as the Quakers. They might be hard to tell the difference of.
Yeah, is there another Colv out on the opponent's side? Still
yeah,
alive?
Oh, they have 280 base HP. Okay.
Yeah. But still, you know what I mean? Like, that is a massive pain in the butt. So, I mean, again, one of those units that, like you said, it's a game-winning unit. So you'll use it sometimes, your opponent won't fall for it, sure. But then there's going to be that game where you're just going to be like the Giga Brain.
And I was mainly, I was making a few carbine calves. That's the reason I trained those 5 carbine calves in the middle and I usually train 5 more before attacking, is just for anti-cav purposes, to make it more believable that they're real artillery, that need protection. And also because, you know, what else are they going to make against this, you know?
Exactly. It's not like Carbine's a bad unit. It's not like it's a tax, you know?
Yeah, indeed.
Like
Carbines are good units now.
Exactly.
Yeah, they got their veterancy upgrade, they have 24 at 2.5 speed. That's good. That's really good. They only cost 80 food and coins too, so they're really convenient to make.
Oh yeah. Good stuff, man.
I was excited to show you this one because I know you're a sucker for like seeing the goofiness of the game, and then complaining that it's not like the olden days when Portugal would just play standard.
I mean, this is big. Like, okay, like there's a difference between like just like if Quaker guns were actual artillery for 100 wood, like that's stupid. But like psyching out your opponent and like making them second guess themselves, like those are the type of plays I feel like in a strategy game like are underutilized often by devs and players, especially in Age of Empires 3. And then B, like it's more fun. Like when you lose to this, it's like I got suckered in. It's not that like there was an impossible force or my opponent used some BS unit that overran me. Like this stuff is cool, man. Like I don't mind innovative stuff like this. This is fun.
All right. Well,
He said.
I have a high score too, so like it's so believable, especially because USA can viably just mass like 200 Gatling guns and have it work for them. So This is like, of all the civs that they could have made a trainable Quaker gun, USA makes the most out of it, basically. I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we've all fought the USA player that sends wave after wave of Gatlings, and you're just like, how? So, yeah, man, that's cool stuff. Quaking boots, yeah.
Here's
Interesting. Oh,
and I included this card only because South Carolina includes this card as well, the state militia boost that makes them insane. So I figured it would be a waste not to include state militia upgrade cards. But I generally don't. They're not my top priority, you know. Things like coffee mill guns and Knox artillery, which I sent both of them, as well as the 3 horse artillery, which is a really good card when they have 7 speed. It's a silly strategy.
exactly.
That's the end.
Fun
of
one.
it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and goodbye.